So how are you? Are you in Miami?
I am, yeah, I live here.
Amazing.
I chose to move here in around 2022.
Do you like soccer? Do you go to the football field or something?
I only watch soccer if either England or Argentina are playing.
Really?
That's it. Well, actually, I've only ever been to one football match in my entire life, and that was Boca Juniors at the Boca Juniors Stadium versus River.
Wow.
And I was in one of the boxes, one of Maradona's boxes, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. I was on the Boca Juniors side, so I had the blue football jersey on, the blue and yellow. And yeah, it was incredible. So that's why I've always supported Argentina, because it's the only football game I've ever been to.
Amazing. And
yeah,
being with Diego at Boca Juniors Stadium is like top one experiences for everyone ever.
It is, yeah. I was also quite, like, I couldn't believe when everybody started whistling in the stadium, how intense it was. And yeah, I was kind of blown away. But you know what? I kind of really connect the passion with people in a football match in Argentina the same way I connect the passion with them on a dance floor. And I've always said this about Argentinians. They're fucking insane. They absolutely are filled. Their hearts are bigger than their minds. They are filled with passion and love. That's why I always connect. That's why, for me, they're the best gigs in the world. And there's not even a close second. So,
wow. Yeah. I feel the same. I'm from here, and it's difficult, to understand how someone that comes from outside sees, because that's our way to be. I think it's because it's full of Italian and Spanish mixture,
Yeah.
And Italians are very passionate.
Italians are very similar to Argentinians. My wife is Italian, and so we very much around the dinner table for dinner. It's family. It's a big moment, and this is the same that I've experienced in Argentina.
What was your first time here playing in Argentina?
I don't know exactly, but I'm guessing it was like 2000 or 2001 or 1999, something like in those years.
It was at Pacha.
I don't know if that was the first gig. Maybe it was. I'm not sure. But it was crazy, because what I do remember was the first gig I ever played in Argentina. I arrived. Now, I know that I had a mix album with Global Underground that was selling really well across the world. So I was touring across the whole world, and shows were full and busy. I expected that. But I never expected the kind of reception that I got from the Argentinian people. Not only on the first show, but on every single show I have done since, in the last 20 plus years. I mean, I've never had a bad show in Argentina. And what I mean by that is I've always left feeling like it's one of my best shows that year, So I don't know if that's the same for everybody, but that's my personal experience with Argentina.
Most of the DJs that come here tell us the same. The thing is that you've been doing this for a long time, and you came a lot of times, and around 1999 and 2001, the dates that you think you came, it was like a changing point on the electronic music here, and people start to be more like what you saw. Global Underground compilations on that time were really, really popular here. And we love every DJ that came, And your gigs were really, really, well, still being really expected, because I think that something that Argentinians appreciate, something that you have, is that you are a DJ, You are a full DJ. Someone that is
a real DJ.
Someone that connects with the people, with the music. And I think that people perceive that, and still.
Yeah, I mean, I know when I was coming to Argentina in the early days, I was telling so many friends that were DJs that hadn't been to Argentina, like, you have to go, you have to experience the energy. It's like no other show on the planet. The crowd in Argentina don't realize. For example, people used to experience the audience would sit down and sort of levitate like this and in a break. And then when the track would explode, the whole room would jump. People first experienced this in DC-10 in Ibiza. And I said, no, this is not a DC-10 thing. This is an Argentinian thing. I know because I had 10,000 people in a huge arena. I can't remember the name of the arena now, but it was a huge arena. And 10,000 people did this twice throughout the night. And when they jumped and when they land, the floor would shake like an earthquake. I mean, you tell me where else in the world that happens like that? Nowhere. The energy, the drive, the passion, the celebration that Argentinians bring to underground music is like nowhere else in the world. That's why it's been, I'm the biggest fan. But since then, I've toured Argentina all over. I have many Argentinian friends now. I've had dinners with Argentinians, and I see the way that people go to a show to celebrate and have a good time is an extension of who they are. Argentinian people they wear their heart on their sleeve, you know, like they will welcome you to their dinner table with open arms. They're the best people. And I've seen Argentina right from the early 2000s till present day. And I can tell you, the people of Argentina have lived through a lot of BS, but they're still there. They're still the best people to be around. And they're still the best shows in the world to play, even now, 20 plus years later.
Amazing.
So I'm the biggest fan.
Amazing to hear that and to receive you again at La Feria.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I've seen your documentary. I learned a lot from you that I didn't know listening to records. It was hard at the beginning.
Yeah, and I'm glad it was hard at the beginning because, I think like anything else in life, if you really want something enough, nothing will stop you. And that's how it was for me. It wasn't easy, but by having to go through the difficulties of achieving something means that when you achieve it, it's worth so much more. But like you saw in the documentary, I got lost in the fame, I got lost in the money, I got lost in the pie, and I was open and honest about that. And, I'm like an Argentinian. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I will tell you how it is. And a lot of people always think that the game of a DJ, the life of a DJ is easy and it's all glory and it's all like, like Instagram paints it, it's amazing. And it's not. It's sometimes really hard. It's sometimes really lonely. But if you love something enough, you overcome that adversity always. Because essentially the number one thing for me has always been the music. But, I was honest to say I was young. I think by the age of 22, I was on the front cover of 5 or 6 magazines. I was a 22, 23-year-old kid. I was like, hell, this is amazing. I'm just going to party my life away, And I'm not ashamed to admit that. I learned a lot growing up that way, but I made some mistakes, but you rectify them.
And I think that to share that, it's really important because when you get older and more mature, sometimes that message is getting now to someone that is or struggling or having a bad moment, dreaming about something, and knowing that someone could go through everything. It's a really important example.
And it's not special. It's not special to me. It's not special to anyone. It's a really simple rule. Just do not give up. And eventually you'll outweigh the odds. It's really that simple. I've seen many DJs that came up, young DJs that were sending me demos for years. People, I don't know, like I saw acts like Ben Sterling, for example, that were just chipping away at this for many, many years. And eventually they make it. It's really a simple rule. But honestly, it doesn't even feel like it's a chore. If you really want something, there is no other option. You just go and you keep going and you keep getting up. You get knocked down, you get back up. It's that simple.
You mentioned at 22, 23, you started to be on cover of magazines. You realized really young that you can live from this. It was in that point that you said, this is a career, this is for all my life. When was that switch?
I don't, you know what, for me, I think when I started to earn even any money, I felt as though, okay, this is a career now. Because I started DJing when I was 16, but I was playing on pirate radio stations. I did my own illegal parties. I did all these things, and that was just me fulfilling a dream. Then when I started to get booked in clubs and festivals and I started to earn any money, I was like, wow, I can earn money out of this. This is insane. I think at that point I decided, this can be my job. I can do this full time and I can actually earn a living out of this. But it's a journey. You kind of go through a lot of different pivotal points. And I've noticed that in my career that you'll have a moment, they come every few years. It's like there's points that you don't just go like this. You kind of go, there's steps. You reach this point, and then you're there for a while, and then you reach this point. And that's kind of how your career happens, in steps rather than in a slope. It's like there are moments where you think, okay. For me, there was a moment when I thought, holy shit, look how much money I can earn. This is insane. What the hell is going on? And, because I was young, I didn't really have value to money. To me, money was just enough to stay in hotels, party with my friends, and hang out. That's what money meant to me. But as I got older, I wanted to buy a house, and then I wanted a car. So at different steps, it means something different. But yeah, I feel very fortunate that I fell in love with something that when I first started DJing, it wasn't the most amazing job. But as the years went on, DJs became superstars and the whole thing changed. And I was just fortunate that this was something that I chose to do 10 years before, And
when you started, you also went clubbing, and I listened to you in a couple of interviews talking about Carl Cox, talking about Sasha. You especially talk about Sasha's residency and the difference that you've seen Sasha playing in his residency and Sasha playing maybe as a guest DJ here at Pacha, As a resident DJ when I was a kid too, I know what it is to play 8 hours and to have a lot of music. What would you recommend to someone that is starting and maybe doesn't have in his mind or her mind to be a resident DJ, to go to play a lot of hours? What was your experience watching a resident, being you a resident as yourself, to share with someone that is starting?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because when I was a kid going out to clubs to watch DJs like Sasha, that was in the early 90s. That's how you would see Sasha. You would see him at Shelley's. He was a resident. You would see him at Renaissance in Mansfield. He was a resident DJ who played there every month. John Digweed was there every week. And so when you would go to see these guys, you already knew before you go to the club that I'm going to have a great night. I'm not going to go and see someone who I'm not really sure how they play. I have trust in the DJ. And going out was all about having a great night. I wasn't going out to train spot. I wasn't going out to experiment. I was going out to have a great time. And then, Graham Park was at Hacienda, it was all about resident DJs. And that's what I grew up amongst. So obviously when I became successful, even though I could easily, even now, today, I can easily fill my diary with being a headline guest DJ, but I actually prefer to always have a residency. And I've done this throughout my entire career. Harlem Nights at the end, 7 years. Space in Ibiza on the Terrace, 12 years. I had a night called the Midweek Session in Birmingham. I did that for just 1 year. Warriors in Ibiza for 7 years. And I'm doing it again now with Pendulum. And because I just get more reward out of DJing being more like an art form, more like theatre, where I really think about what I'm going to play. I really think about the journey of music and how I'm going to shape the night, how the night is going to evolve. how I'm going to start, where I'm going to go in the middle, how I'm going to end. I think about all this before the show. And so for me, DJing is about taking people on a musical journey. That way I know I'm going to give the audience the best night. They can trust me. I know they can trust me. I know I'm going to deliver. There's no question about that because I've prepared. And I think giving anybody advice, if you want to become a DJ, the best way, as we say in England, to cut your teeth is to have a residency. Don't become a DJ just to go and be a guest. It's kind of easy. It's like, it's not challenging enough. You need to really understand how a room should feel at the start of the night and how a room should feel at the end of the night, and how to make people move in between that. And if you can understand that, and it doesn't have to, but you could do a residency for 100 people. Get 100 people that absolutely love seeing you play every month. And I guarantee if you love what you do, it won't be long before that room is full. And then when you've got that 100 capacity room full, then you go to a 200 capacity room. And it won't be long before you're doing a 400 capacity room. That is the advice to give to new DJs. Do it because you love it, not because of the success. The success will always come if you do something true that you love. Don't be in a rush. Electronic music, as I've been saying for 20 years, is here forever. Electronic music is not going anywhere. As long as we have people and we have a heartbeat, we're going to like electronic music. So that's the way to really understand the art of DJing. And that's the quickest way to success. Show people who you are musically, not with Instagram, with pictures and videos. Yeah, of course, we all need that now. It's part of culture. But people still resonate to what's real. Let the music do the talking. Be the DJ. Show them how you play. Show them what you can do. And they will come back. And they'll trust you. And they'll come back again. That's the best advice I can give to any DJ.
Definitely. Totally agree. Thank you for that. I think that when you're a DJ, you have to also, versatile is the word, right? To have more music than the top 20. It's like I need to play chill out because no one is here. So why I will be with the beats if it's an empty room? I know how to. Sometimes you come and the club is full, and because there was a previous party, you know. And I think that to have versatility on your pen drive or whatever is the format that you play, it's something that a residency will give you for sure. And as you mentioned, Warrior, 7 years, that's a lot. And a lot of parties that is like you play, but you also promote. When you started to work in different fields of the music production, because you have labels, you have your parties, you know what I meant?
Well, I mean, another reason, it's a good point, another reason to have your own residency is you have control over the concept. What's the message behind, what do you want people to feel beyond the music? With Warriors, my message was, the kind of person that I am, if something is really popular, for whatever reason, I just always feel as though I need to go against the grain. And in Ibiza at that time, it was all about guest DJs, big superstar DJs. So Warriors was an opportunity for me to introduce new acts and make it about the gang, not just about me. And a lot of people, I remember having a conversation with Luciano, and he did something very similar. And he felt the same. It was, let's make the night about, of course, you're the headline act, it's your night, but let's make it about a crew of people. You know, let's build something together as a team. And that's what Warriors was. It was about the warriors, not warrior. And that was the concept behind it. It was about going against the VIP culture that was taking over Ibiza. I'm the anti sort of, if something's becoming really popular, I just always want to sing for the I don't know, like for the underrated. You know, I want to try and give support where I feel it's needed. I mean, my label, was set up to introduce new music. That's originally why I started VIVa Music. And VIVa Music was the first ever digital-only record label. The first ever. I was the first person to do that. I vividly remember magazines, and usually it was Mixmag, because Mixmag, for whatever reason, always had it against me. But they would say, oh, like, you know, this is rubbish. You've got to keep vinyl alive. But actually, I knew where it was going, and I liked to be the first at doing things. So I put my head above the parapet and got shot because I mentioned I'm going to be digital only. Now, look, almost every label in the world is digital only. And I'm proud of that. But I took the flack, I took the shit, you know, for doing that. But it was about supporting new artists and giving them a platform. And I've been doing that my whole life, honestly. I've always tried to do things that go against the grain. I don't know why, I just find it more challenging. I find it more exciting.
Well, it has sense. Being a pioneer and making something called like underground, it's normal that
I've always been the rebel. That's the way it's always been. I've always done things that people aren't all doing. And something I will say, for something you mentioned a minute ago, DJs should really home in on their style. Don't focus on a genre. A genre is something that somebody else has made up. One record somebody could call tech house, somebody else could call it deep house, somebody else could call it techno. Forget it. Don't ever focus on genres. Focus on your style. And in your style, you'll have range, from deeper sounds through to tougher sounds, but it will be within your style. That's what you need to focus on as an act, and that way you will create who you are as an artist and who you are as a DJ, is your style.
Definitely. Well, here we are in a music academy, and we always talk to the younger audience about if you have to play the whole night, or you have to make a warm-up, the main or the closing, or maybe the after party, for sure you must have a range of different genres, but with your style, you know? And I always tell the kids, like, go to the past. Don't focus on what's now out on Beatport or whatever you buy. Focus on, go to the past, learn that something that you mentioned before, that this is like came from 30 years or more, and there's classics on every genre, so pick, you know, and if you have the possibility to play with someone like a main international or something, choose the last 3 tracks to impress the guy, you know, to make him comfortable, welcome, you know. It's amazing what you did with VIVa, because a lot of artists were like new, you know, at that time, and they weren't like I remember some of Guti's release on VIVa, and for me, all those music, it was kind of new, and VIVa, I use a lot of VIVa records on those times. And then I think the second label was VIVa Limited, right? And then you keep opening different labels for different kind of styles and music, right?
Yeah, I have 4 labels, 4 main labels, which as the music industry has evolved and grown, so has the level of music and output. I mean, the amount of music that comes out now is astonishing. So for me, I wanted to try and focus a label on its respected field. In other words, for example, a good example of this is my record label, Evive, which is more focused on sort of ethnic, organic, Afro house, percussive, tribal, this type of sound, which means all the DJs that play that sphere of music will like that label, or I'd like to think so. But that's very different to IVAV, and IVAV is my techno label, and it's got some really beautiful, how do I call it, like deep techno or raging hard techno, but that's different and original. You see, being someone that I truly love music, and it's, you know, I love all types of music, from classical to jazz to drum and bass, to ambient, because I really feel as though music is more than just something to go and dance to. For me, music is a soundtrack to my life. And every tone and aspect of music has a place in my life. So that's how I try to focus my labels, so they become respected in the areas they belong. And that kind of, if you go back and you listen to VIVa music, for example, everything will be filed under tech house, because that was the genre that it kind of suited back then. But now if you listen to some of the music on VIVa from 10 years ago, that would now be classified as deep house,
or
because tech has changed.
Yeah.
And you see, this is the point about genres. Don't focus or get lost on it. Focus on the sound. And for me, the sound of VIVa music is in a certain way. The sound of VIVa Limited is a particular sound, and the sound of Revive has a sound. And in that, you could have genres: melodic house, Afro house, organic house. You know, you can have all sorts of genres on that label, but it's the sound that it's really focusing on.
And what do you think about something that you mentioned on Beatport, or someone changing the name of the labels of their genres? Because something that used to be deep house now is minimal deep tech, and progressive house is like kind of confusing for someone that is not totally in, right?
The best way to do it is follow artists that you love. And Beatport is really good for this, because if you follow certain artists and certain labels, it will suggest things of a similarity, you know? And that kind of does follow the sound. But forget about genres. Just forget about it. They're not important. It's somebody else's opinion. And somebody else's opinion should never, ever matter. It's like, what matters is your opinion, not somebody else's. What I call deep house is not what Beatport calls deep house. I can tell you now. And some records that I hear some records get to tech house that to me are not tech house. You know, for me, tech house was a phrase that people like myself and Craig Richards and Lee Burridge came up with. It was techno house. It wasn't tech as in technology. It was techno house. In other words, the instruments, the sounds that come from techno synthesizers like the 909 and the 808, that's what was techno. House was the tempo and the feeling and the arrangement and the structure. It was structured like house records that came from David Morales, Roger Sanchez. They were making house records, but with house instruments. We started making house records, but with techno instruments, which was dubbier, more underground, more stripped. But it was still the tempo and arrangement of house music. That was the real birth of tech house. And now it means something completely different. So genres do not matter. All that matters is the artists that make these songs. And a true artist, I can tell you now, the last thing they want is to be genreified into one pigeonhole. No artist wants that. True artists, the whole point of being an artist is you're free. Art does not belong in a category. Art does not belong with restrictions. Art is open. So if you're a real artist, genres do not matter.
I love that description, man. And it also justifies to have 4 labels dedicated to 4 different things. You recently posted on your Instagram, and you talk about your labels and the way to get to you if someone wants to release. So I will suggest everyone that is a producer willing to go to your sets to get into your Instagram and to check it, because what you said and what it says in that post is really important for someone that wants to release in your labels. And something that for me it's a good advice for kids and for future professionals is, I will try to put it good. You've been like since ever. You've seen like Sasha playing as a resident, and for sure you've seen a lot of professionals getting in and out from the scene. And you also seen the one that keeps going, like Carl, Sean Digweed, Sasha, Hernan, you,
Nick
and
Warren,
Nick
Nick
Warren.
Burridge, and they're quality DJs. And if you notice, they don't follow trends. They don't follow genres. They are themselves. They're true to their craft. And all of those DJs that you just mentioned, I have a lot of respect for. This has been our life. This is it. This is what we do. Where even at times when I found it quite difficult to be a DJ and tour, I come away from it for a while. I took 6 months off at one point from touring. I just said no to gigs. I just didn't want to tour. I have no choice. It pulls me back because I love music, and I know this is the case for all these DJs you just mentioned. It's not about the success. The success doesn't drive it. The desire to A&R, listen, produce, deliver, perform music outweighs any other desire we have. So we don't have a choice. We were kind of born for this.
When I've seen the documentary or some interview, I listened to you saying that the first time that you started to beat match, it was like natural, you know?
It was, yeah. None of my friends could do it at the time. They were like, how do you do this? I'm like, I have no idea. It just works, you know? It's just working.
We are totally agree about all the dishes that we mentioned, that they have that passionate and all the things that you said. And what are the don'ts for those who got in and out? What is the don't do that?
I mean, look, I don't know individual reasons, but the one thing that I do know is if you don't love it enough, it can be a hard game. It can be hard in many ways. You know, traveling all the time is hard. I remember having a conversation with Seth Troxley years ago, and Seth Troxley was kind of new on the circuit. And he said to me, how the hell have you done this for so long? And my answer was, I have no idea. I don't belong anywhere else. It's who I am. And I think the people that don't last, maybe the bad parts of the job outweigh the good parts. You know, it's that simple. Or, you know, if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, if you want to be a DJ because you want fame and you want glory, which happens a lot, the more that the industry, the more DJs became superstars, the more the reason to become a DJ became a little soft, shall we say. People saw the popularity and, you know, they get all the drinks, they get all the chicks, they get all the money. They're the most popular guy in the nightclub. I mean, I can understand why that's attractive. Don't get me wrong. I can understand it. But that's not going to keep you in it forever, you know, because it's not always easy. The journey of a career of being a DJ has its ups and downs. I mean, I speak openly about my ups and downs in my documentary because I watched many documentaries and they all only talked about all the good moments. And I thought, that's not really real. What's real is the frustration, the loneliness, the boredom that you can become when you feel like a machine, you know, and just all the things that go with it. And also, fame is overrated. You know, being famous is great for some things, but it's also really awful for other things. So, you know, you've got to be in it for the right reasons. And then I think it will last.
I love it. The passion moves everything in this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And over the years, I've seen a post that you did playing Keep Control at Pacha, an amazing night. And playing the same track in a different, I don't know where the venue was, but people maybe not so connected or being with the phone or being about the wrong reason. How you can compare both parts, and what advice can you give to someone that maybe is not willing to be a producer or a DJ, but he or she loves to go to listen to music? We don't see that vibe that you live in Pacha really often.
I mean, there's many reasons. Number one, electronic music now is the main source of music, full stop. You know this when big companies like Live Nation all of a sudden purchased all of the dance festivals because they realized rock and roll concerts that sell 10,000 tickets and an electronic festival that sell 100,000 tickets. They quickly realized where the future was. So now we live in a time where electronic music is the norm. So that's the first point. Back in the 2000s, it wasn't the norm. We were still the underdog. You know, the big events back then was big rock bands at concerts or big pop bands or urban, R&B and, these kind of events were the biggest. And dance music events were smaller, but not anymore. So that's the first change. And what I mean by that is it's become the norm. People are spoilt with how much music we have now. But ultimately, the main reason why the difference is there, and it's something that we all know, is the world of social media and the world of the device, the phone. It's taken away. Everybody is addicted to their phones. Everybody. Even in a moment, whether you're on the toilet or whether you're in a nightclub, they've got their phone in their hand. And that draws away your attention, even for a moment, will take you away from being able to lose yourself. You lose yourself in music. If you put your phone and said, you know what, for tonight, I'm just not going to take my phone out with me. You could have a revelation that night. You'd be like, what happened? Because you would just lose yourself in the energy of the music in the nightclub or in the festival arena. That's the biggest issue. But it's a combination of all these things I'm saying. And the reason why I did that video, I wasn't the first to do that. I saw somebody else did a comparison video of DC-10, I think it was in the 2000s, and then DC-10 in 2023. And in DC-10 in the 2000s, the audience was going absolutely nuts. Everyone's going wild. And then in the 2023 video, everyone's just standing with their phone like this. And all I have to say is I'm so grateful that I got to lose my shit in DC-10 in the early 2000s and experience that. But it's not gone. I can tell you now, I do my pendulum shows, which are much smaller events. But there's moments in a pendulum, and there's not a lot of footage of pendulum shows out there because it's a more mature audience and no one's got their phones out. They're all going nuts. I have it here in Miami. There's moments on that dance floor where it's absolutely insane. And then I look the next day and think, there's not one story been posted. And I smile because I'm thinking, that's why it was going crazy, because no one was on their phone. So it's still there. If anybody wants it, it's still achievable. But yeah, that's why I said to the girl that works for my social media, who is Argentinian, actually, she's from Buenos Aires. I said to her, we need to do a video like this because look at this comparison. And it was Jamie Jones and Joseph Capriazzi playing the same record, maybe a different version. But it was just, in one of the best clubs in the world, Amnesia. But it wasn't, that's the epitome. That's how nights go off now. When it's going off in a club, it's just full of phones. Whereas 20 years ago, it's going off in a club, the roof's coming down. It's like, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Listen, I also want to say I've not gone against phones because I'm also addicted to my phone. But you need to just say to yourself, I'm not going to have it out all night, And every time there's that big moment, don't instantly go for your phone. Instead, close your eyes and just feel the moment. Just do that instead and experience it that way rather than experience it through a lens.
Hopefully that will be back.
I don't think it will ever come back like it was. It doesn't need to. I mean,
absolutely.
You know, we live in an amazing time of music and events. Like to think where we've come, how far we've come from 30 years ago. It's incredible. It needs to be celebrated. But I just want people to find a balance, because you know what? Life is about balance, right? In everything, not just the pie, in everything. Have those moments where you just don't even go for the phone and enjoy music in how it's meant to be enjoyed.
I think that's our challenge as a society. I also talk to my kids about listening to records without doing anything that listen, you know, not as a second activity.
I mean, it's everything. My social media manager was always saying to me, I need more personal videos to post. And I say to her, I don't have any because I live my life without a camera. I don't always, if I go for a nice meal or I have a great moment wherever, I don't think of my phone. I don't think of recording it. I just enjoy it because I'm from a generation where I don't think about recording everything. So, you know, my online presence is not that personal, not on purpose. It's because I just don't live through a camera. So it's not just about an event, it's about everything. Some people will want to film everything, some people don't.
And to finish, speaking about the future, how do you see the future? And if you have some ideas about artificial intelligence making music or helping making music and that stuff.
Well, on the AI thing, I had a meeting over 12 months ago with a big corporate record label. And they told me then, over a year ago, there was over 500,000 songs being uploaded to DSPs, you know, Apple Music, Spotify, etc., every day. That's 3.5 million songs a week. Now, that's not sustainable. And that's before AI has really got its, you know, power on. And that's not just electronic music, that's across every broad scope and genre of music, from rock to urban to classical, whatever. That's everything. But even still, I think AI is the death of artistry. But it's also a good thing for artists, because I think the real artists will stand out more. I would like to think so. I mean, look, you know, technology. I remember when CDJs first came out, and I loved CDJs because I thought, great, I've not got to carry 4 boxes of records to every gig anymore. To me, that was great. I could get all my music onto CDs. But I used the technology to enhance what I did, not to cheat. You know, I used it for the looping. I used it for the effects. I used technology to make what I did better, not to cheat. And if we can use technology to make what we do better, then I'm all for it. But unfortunately, pretty much all technology will be abused so someone can cheat. And we can't stop that. That's the bad side of technology, and there's a good side to technology. But I always say, embrace the future. That's what I did with my record label when everyone else was releasing vinyl, and I announced digital only. Rather than fighting the future, I embraced the future and tried to do the best with it that I could. As far as my plans are concerned, for me, like how I see my future, however long that I want to tour for now, I don't want to tour. I've been very vocal about this. I'm turning down more shows than I'm doing because I don't really have a desire to tour. I have a desire to perform. And the less travel I can do, for me at this point in my life, the better. There are places like Argentina where I will always make a place for. I will always travel to Argentina to perform for as long as I'm DJing. But there are a lot of countries, I won't go to Asia anymore. I barely go to the Middle East. I don't really travel that much. I don't go to Eastern Europe. I don't even travel around Europe that much anymore. I just have no desire to travel like that. And I've achieved everything that I know the scene has to offer. So I've done it all before many times. For me, it's really about my brand Pendulum and making it about some incredible residencies where I have a regular audience, where I can get my fix and just play music for 4, 5, 6 hours. That's what I need. That's my release. I need that in my life. So that's why I need my residencies. But honestly, doing 3 or 4 shows a month, that's more than enough for me. Of course, when I have certain tours, then I'll do 2 or 3 shows in one weekend. But outside of that, you know, I want to make seeing me perform more of an exclusive appearance, you know, and not for that reason, but for the reason that I just am over traveling. I've been traveling around the world for almost 30 years. That's enough, you know? So, and what it does mean is the gigs that I do are way more special. I put way more preparation time into that, and I give it so much more. When you're a touring DJ and you're doing 2 or 3 gigs a week, every single week, I guarantee you, every single DJ in the world right now performing, no matter how big or small they are, if they're performing that much, they're playing the same sets every weekend because it's just too demanding to really put much time into it. So for me, doing less shows means my shows are more quality. It's more quality driven than quantity driven. And that's where I'm at.
I love it. I love it. And it makes sense with the beginning of the interview where we were talking about being a resident, play a lot of hours, create a journey with the music. And I really like the concept of seeing you performing and not traveling that much. And it's also an advice that I will take for myself, you know. There's something that you want to add?
We talked about everything.
I think
we got a lot in there.
I really enjoyed this. I was looking forward to this since someone, Matu, the promoter of La Feria, told me that this interview would take place. It's really a pleasure because I remember listening to the Global Underground when I was a kid, you know, willing to be a DJ, and to have you here and sharing all your history and your thinking. It's really an honor.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the time. It's been a great interview.
Thank you.